Hello, and welcome to Tutor Reviews. My name is Nina, and I will be the tutor helping you review during this video series. I'd like to begin our very first episode with a little bit of an introduction to the channel and my goal with the series before we get into the actual material itself. First and foremost, I'd like to stress that I intend these videos to be a supplement for students who are already taking a college-level bio course. It's not to say that if you would just like a refresher on some biology concepts, we all have hobbies, couldn't also use this, or if you are a high school student, you could definitely use these videos as a resource, but the key word here is supplement. You've already had one pass at the material during your lecture, during discussion. This is just another way to hear someone explain it and break it down and present it a little bit differently to help reinforce the understanding you already have. It's important to me that students have access to a resource where the information and the material of the course is presented in a very clear and direct way. In my time spent tutoring, I have found that many students find it very frustrating when they first have to learn how their professor is teaching them, learning how to navigate their particular teaching style, idiosyncrasies, technical difficulties. All of those components in the presenting of the material make learning the material almost secondary and very difficult. So as much as possible, I would like to make this series as straightforward and clear as I possibly can. Just a direct presentation of these are the bare bones facts that are important concepts for most introductory college-level bio courses. This is probably the last time you are going to see my face in quite a while. Most videos, including the second half of this one, are going to be me going through and annotating, highlighting a set of notes on the given topic. Very excited to get to that soon. Finally, I want to stress the importance of having a strong conceptual understanding of your material. Having that conceptual understanding of what you're trying to learn really helps you build a context, a framework that you can put all of the facts and pieces of information that you're learning onto, particularly when it comes to complicated subjects, things that are very in-depth, higher level science courses. You need to have something that you can pin all of those pieces of information to, because they aren't going to do you any good if you can't find those pieces of information. The difference between a museum and just a pile of stuff is the fact that a museum is curated. It's organized so that you, the viewer, can walk through and there's an intuition to where things are going to be relative to each other. And so that's what I'd really like to do with this series, is help you find the way that you can curate the information of a bio course. Now that we've had our introductions, let's hop right on into the big themes and concepts of Introduction to Biology. We're going to start talking about some big picture things, ease our way into the course material. This is your 5-second answer to what is biology about. If you know these things, you can at least answer that question. And functionally, this is something that you can start to use as that framework to tie all the rest of your learning to. Your organism must maintain a consistent internal environment, and to do this, it needs to have energy. And that energy is coming from chemical bonds. And ultimately, the chemical bonds are getting that energy from the sun. Entropy is cruel, and alas, all things want to fall into decay. It's the natural direction thermodynamics pushes us. And in order for cells to continue functioning, in order for a living being to remain living, it needs to constantly be putting in energy to fight against that. Second, genetic information is carried in a common language. So, as you likely know, that common language is DNA, something that we tend to overlook because it seems so obvious, but it's sort of wonderful in its own way. The fact that despite the diversity of forms of life, they all use the same code. I mean, look at computers, right? And they're all pretty similar to each other. There's many different languages, so I think that says something about the usefulness of DNA as a molecule and as a code. Next, populations of organisms evolve over time, and the key word here is populations, underlining twice for emphasis. Individuals don't evolve. Pokemon has lied to us, I'm sorry to say. In order for evolution to occur, individuals need to die, and they need to die at differential rates based on heritable traits, with some traits then becoming more common in later generations and others becoming less common. And over a long enough time, you start to see more significant shifts in what that species of organism looks like. Finally, and this is definitely the most general of these four, it's important to consider the fact that structure and function on all levels of biology are cooperative. What the required function of something is will determine what structures are possible for that organism to have. Similarly, if something has a particular structure, it's limited in what its function can be. And you see this interplay on all of these levels. At a molecular level, a particular ligand can only bind to enzymes that are able to accommodate that shape. The fact that a phospholipid bilayer is made of phospholipids and is a bilayer is a direct result of the structure of phospholipids, and because of that, they're able to create that fluid mosaic that has a very particular function that can be that semi-permeable membrane. On a much larger scale, we see with populations, if it's necessary for a population to access a certain food supply, say they need to eat seeds that have quite hard shells, in order to serve that function, the structure of a beak will be influenced by that pressure to accommodate the needed function. So there's a lot of different examples of this, and it's definitely a very general underpinning, but for all of these things, I just like you to consider that these are things that you can use to start to create your own framework for how you are going to frame the story, so to speak, of biology. Next video, we will get started with our chemistry in biology. So until then, thank you so much for listening and keep on learning.